Hi guys, my name is Isaiah Kimbao and today we're gonna tackle about the Earth's coordinate system. Earth's coordinate system is a three-dimensional reference system that locates points on the Earth's surface. The unit of measure is usually a decimal degrees. A point has two coordinate values consist of latitudes and longitudes. Latitude is a series of imaginary lines that runs horizontally around the Earth, the measurement of distance north or south of the equator. It is measured with 180 imaginary lines that form circles around the Earth's its east-west parallel to the equator. Meanwhile, longitude is a series of imaginary lines that run around the Earth vertically up and down and meet at the north and south poles. These lines are known as meridians. Each meridian measures 1 arc degree of longitude. The distance around the Earth measures 360 degrees. The bases of these imaginary lines are called equator for the latitude and prime meridian for the longitude, and are located at 0 degrees. The equator is the starting point or primary line for the measuring system of latitude. It is the invisible horizontal line that runs around the center of the Earth at 0 degrees latitude. The equator divides the planet into the northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere. Lines of latitude are called parallels of latitude because a particular value of latitude forms a circle parallel to the equator. Meanwhile, prime meridian is the starting point or the primary line for the measuring system of longitudes. It is the invisible vertical line that runs around the Earth at 0 degrees longitude. The prime meridian divides the planet into two equal parts, the eastern hemisphere and western hemisphere. The adopted primary line of prime meridian passes to Greenwich, United Kingdom. It was adopted at October 1884 at the International Meridian Conference. The prime meridian is also used as the basis for the world's time zones, which is the international dateline. Lines of longitude is called meridians. The distance between any two given meridians measured along a parallel in nautical miles. The combination of latitude and longitude together, we will have a system called as coordinates to record or to find the location of any feature on the surface of the Earth uniquely. The creation of the concept of longitudes and latitudes resulted in the creation of the concept of Earth's hemispheres and other significant lines. First is the southern hemisphere, the half of the Earth which is south of the equator. Northern hemisphere, the half of the Earth which is north of the equator. Eastern hemisphere, the half of Earth which is east of the 0 degrees line of longitude. Note, with this definition, continental Europe is in the eastern hemisphere. Western hemisphere, the half of Earth which is west at the 0 degrees line of longitude. From the equator, a series of parallel lines were recognized with the most northern and southern points being called the North and South Pole. These would be numbered as 90 degrees north and south respectively. North Pole, the North Pole is at the center of the northern hemisphere. The North Pole is the northernmost part of the Earth, lying diametrically opposite the South Pole. It defines geodetic latitude 90 degrees north as well as the direction of true north. At the North Pole, all direction points south. All lines of longitude converge there. Meanwhile, the South Pole, also known as the Geographic South Pole or terrestrial South Pole. It is one of the 2 points where Earth's axis of rotation intersects its surface. It is the southernmost point of the surface of Earth and lies on the opposite side of the Earth from the North Pole. The tropics. Tropic of Cancer in the north and Tropic of Capricorn in the south. The Tropic of Cancer and Capricorn are the two most important latitude lines made apart from the equator. They match the orientation of the Earth's rotational axis to the elliptical plane around the Sun. because at the time of its naming, the Sun was positioned in the Cancer constellation during the June solstice. It is also known as the summer solstice. The Sun travels the longest path through the sky, and that the day therefore has the most daylight. It is commonly known as summer. Likewise, the Tropic of Capricorn was named because the Sun was in a constellation Capricorn during the December solstice, also known as winter solstice. It is where the Sun travels the shortest path through the sky, and that day therefore has the least day and the longest night. Both the Arctic, the North Pole, and the Antarctic, the South Pole, are cold because they don't get any direct sunlight. The sun is always low on the horizon, even in the middle of summer. In winter, the sun is so far below the horizon that it doesn't come up at all for months at a time. The weather on the North and South Pole is always cold, so the weather there is always cold and snowy. Meanwhile, the countries that lies and near at the equator will often experience hot climate with little seasonal variation. As a result, many equatorial cultures recognize two seasons, the wet and dry. The wet or rainy season often lasts most of the year. Why? Because typhoon mostly form in ocean near equator. Tropical cyclones are like giant engines that use warm, moist air as fuel. That is why they form only over warm ocean waters near the equator. The warm, moist air over the ocean rises upward from near the surface. Because this air moves up and away from the surface, there is less air left near the surface. That's all. Thank you.